I describe myself as a polyhumanitarian, someone who believes politics should be rooted in love for country and empathy for its people. I'm thrilled to introduce to you Politics Uncensored, a show dedicated to tackling the political challenges that matter most to Nigerians. This is more than just a show. It's a space for honest, unfiltered conversations about the issues that shape our nation. From policy reforms to elections, leadership tussles to governance at all levels, and the overall political landscape in Nigeria. We will dive deep into how politics is impacting our everyday lives. So join me on this journey as we challenge the status quo, spark dialogue, and work together to build a brighter future for Nigeria. Let's make our voices heard and drive the change we deserve. Nigeria's democratic journey has been marked by significant progress, but for the country still faces numerous challenges that threaten its stability, from insecurity and economic difficulties to social unrest and corruption. Nigeria's complex political dynamics demand a nuanced understanding. One of the things that I've been able to put together while looking at this topic is the fact that the future of Nigeria's democracy is uncertain. The success of Nigeria's democracy will depend on the ability of its leader and citizens to address these challenges and build a more inclusive and equitable society. Well, this is where I welcome you to Politics Uncensored, where we tackle the tough topics, challenge the status quo, and uncover the hidden narratives that shape our world. Our goal is to provide a platform that opens and, captures honest discussion where experts and everyday citizens can share their perspectives and insights. Of course, it's your favorite show, and we have 3 expert guests who will be discussing this conversation with me. I'm your host, Okikiola Taiwo Jalopon, and I'm passionate about exploring the complexities of politics without fear or favor. Every episode is all about you, so be a part of the conversation every single day and add your voice to the discussions. Head on to our YouTube channel at Official Upgrade TV. Right now, hit that subscribe button, like, and share the link. Invite your friends to join us. Obviously, our phone lines are also still open to you on 070-2500-7749 and 070-142420. Let's hear what you have to say. We'll go on a break right now and we'll return with our guests and take our top stories in the political space making headlines. Please stay with us. Yes, you're still watching Politics Uncensored, and today we'll be breaking down Nigeria's latest political developments, analyzing the current events. We have here Barrister Maurice Ebam, who is the former national youth leader of the African Democratic Congress and also the National ADC Support Network. We also have Ladipo Johnson here, who is a political analyst and a seasoned lawyer. I was very amazed when I saw that we'll be having these guests. And we'll be starting off, if I have Johnson here and Maurice.
Yes, good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. Amazing to have you here.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's exciting knowing that as a young lady, you are passionate about politics.
Thank you very much.
We need to see, we need to see ourselves, young people, getting involved. I'm also knowing that my fellow panelist is also a lawyer too. So it's really very, very exciting. So my name is Barrister Maurice Ebam, the national leader of the ADC Coalition Support Network, former national leader of ADC, former interim chairman Forum of National Leaders of Political Parties. I actually had to start with this preamble because a time has come as young people. We must be intentional and deliberate about getting involved in politics, governance, and leadership, especially as young people too, and also as lawyers are society change engineers. So it is very, very important that lawyers must also be at the forefront, because one of the biggest problems we're having right now is the judiciary. The lawyers are the one bastardizing the system. The Senate president is a lawyer. The president of his son, the first son of the president, Sheikh Tinubu, is a lawyer. Femi Gbadagina is a lawyer. So many of them are not lawyers. I noticed that a lot of persons go after they have done, they go and study law so they can use law for their own personal aggrandizement. So they're not even seeing law as a call to service anymore. So it's very, very important. It's very, very important that all hands must be on deck, especially on the judiciary.
Thank you very much. I like how Morris has already,
And now
Barrister
coming to the
Morris has
happening
started this conversation. I would really love to hear from Ladipo also.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me, and I'm looking forward to the discussions. Yes, I'm a legal practitioner. Funny enough, I was also in the ADC at a time, but now I'm the National Publicity Secretary of the New Nigeria People's Party, the NNPP. So I'm glad to be here, and I look forward to our discussions.
Thank you very much, Ladipo. I like that you've experienced both the APC and another party. So I'm sure that this conversation is going to bring maybe a balanced approach when you and Barrister Morris is going to be replying. But we have to also discuss the political brief, the news briefly that's making headlines in the newspaper. And we have here saying that APC kicks as Labour Party alleges to plan to weaken the opposition. And the Labour Party has accused the ruling All Progressive Congress of undermining Nigeria's democracy through deliberate attempts to weaken and destabilize opposition parties. Speaking at the African Democratic Congress Global Award and Dinner Night held on Monday, in Abuja, the acting national chairman of the Labour Party, Senator Nnadi Usman, accused the APC of consistently deploying state institutions to harass and manipulate opposition voices to consolidate power. In a speech delivered on her behalf by her senior special advisor on media, Ken Eluma, Usman claimed the APC was weaponizing national institutions and state resources to suppress political dissent. This is very funny because it almost seems like a lot of news have been going on about whether or not the APC is gaining more power, or the Labour Party or other opposition party are finding coalition very easy. But I would like to hear from Ladipo, who has had the best of both worlds, if I will put it in that sense, what you think about this news.
Is that for me, for Johnson, or for Mr. Morris?
Yes, Ladipo, please.
Oh, okay, yes. Well, over time, I think we can safely say that it would seem that some members of the APC, even if it is not done officially, have in one way or the other tried to do one or two things to the opposition in a bid to weaken the opposition. In our own climb, in the Nigerian system, that is, I'm not saying it should be expected, but that is usually the case. You find that there are people who are willing to let themselves be used to try to truncate the development of the so-called political party they belong to, etc., etc. You will find that where we are concerned, as you know, we, the NNPP, won Kano State, and we have the governor in Kano and the majority in the House of Assembly. And when you look at Kano, for instance, you'll see that, for instance, with the emirship, the Emirates tussle, as they call it, as the press came to call it, when Emir Sanusi was returned, you find that somehow former Emir Adobayo was brought back into Kano, and then he was put at the Emir's guest palace in Nasarawa. Now, this man came in with military, police, and the DSS protecting him. And it is only natural for the average man on the streets of Kano to believe that he had the support of those who could call the shots. That is those in the APC or those in the presidency. So when they started to say that, look, we know that everybody knows that the state is responsible for chieftaincy, but the federal is now using its powers to try to reinstall or to make sure that former Emir Adobairo is not removed. You can't blame people for saying that. That is a practical example of what has been happening. Now you know that they went to court. The court said Federal High Court, which they went to, has no jurisdiction. That is the State High Court. And the State High Court has already affirmed Emir Sanusi returning onto the seat. So these are the sort of things that get people saying that the APC or the federal government are using their powers of incumbency at the center to suppress either the states or other political parties. There are also other examples as well. So I usually try not to just make statements without giving examples. This is what I have felt from them.
Thank you very much, Johnson. Those are very bold statements. And I think I would like to also hear from Barrister Morris. But this will come from another news where Mr. Rotimi Amechi is saying that APC wouldn't have won in 2015 under the current INEC chairman. And he has praised Jega in that sense that you can only liken the current INEC chairman with Iwu. And I would just like to hear what Barrister Morris will have to say about that. Do I have him here with me? Okay, just to take the current chairman, Yakubu, or won the 2015 in charge at the Mechi praised former INEC chairman Prof. Atairu Jega for ensuring a transparent electoral process that led to the APC's registrations and eventual victory in 2015. He said the current INEC chairman, if he was the chairman of INEC in 2015, would have not won. That's an important point. May God bless Atairu Jega, because the ground rules were clear. The current chairman of the INEC can only be compared to Iwu. And he further alleged the INEC's under Yakubu is already showing signs of biases. Already INEC is biased, so he says. So the only thing I can tell you for now is that looking at the way Nigeria has run the election, even the option A4 led us forward. At least a lot of us can be transparent, and you were sure of what was going on. Then we came back to meet people like Iwu and others, and the current one, and things got worse. So you don't know whether to say we are progressing or we are regressing. There's a state capture using electoral institution as a machine. And it sounds very funny because I remember that Jega was also popularly mocked in that sense, where they accused him of not practicing transparency during elections. But I can see Rotimi Amechi here saying that Jega was the all and all in that sense. If not, the APC would have won the 2015 election. But that's all we have on the trending political news. We have to go on a break right now. When we return, we'll go straight into our hot topic for today. Please stay with us.
Nigeria, by extension, Africa. Topics in the news, social concerns, politics, leadership at the table to effect a positive change, both for our nation and continent. Ways, what are you saying, has a secret ingredient that completes the conversation every single episode, and that ingredient is you. Our past conversations shaped our yesterday. To shape our tomorrow, we must keep talking. So, I want to hear you. Be a part of our live conversations Mondays through Fridays. And let's all have our say.
Thank you for staying tuned. If you just tuned in, we are breaking down Nigeria's latest political developments, and we're also analyzing the current events in Nigeria. Nigeria, as the most populous nation in Africa, has witnessed a tumultuous political landscape in recent years. The country's democratic journey, while marked by significant progress, has also been fraught with challenges, including insecurity, economic difficulties, and social unrest. This is one of the key things that we have to discuss, because as the trajectory in Nigeria is going in recent times, we are going to be looking at how complex political dynamics have influenced Nigeria's decisions and how what's the way forward in that sense. The 2023 general elections were a watershed moment for Nigerians. The peace transfer of power from the incumbent President Muhammadu Buhari to Bola Tinubu of the All Progressive Congress marked a significant milestone in the country's democratic consolidation. However, the country's elections were not without controversy. Allegations of irregularities and electoral malpractice marred the process, leading to legal challenges and protests. You know, economic challenges also came up with political reforms, where Nigeria's economy has faced numerous challenges in recent years, including high inflation, unemployment, and poverty. The Tinubu administration has embarked on a series of economic reforms aimed at addressing these issues. The removal of fuel subsidy was one of them, a controversial move that sparked process and is expected to free up resources for other sectors. So we have heard, but so far, so good. We have not seen any progress in that sense. Additionally, the government has also implemented measures to attract foreign investment and stimulated economic growth. The ongoing security challenges facing Nigeria remains a major concern, where Boko Haram, the Islamic State of West Africa province, ISWAP, and other militant groups continue to pose a threat to the country's stability. The government has intensified its efforts to combat these groups, but the security situation still remains fragile. And in addition to terrorism, Nigeria also grapples with issues such as kidnapping, banditry, and communal violence. We've also had issues with Nigeria playing a role in regional and international affairs, which has grown in importance. The country has also been actively involved in peacekeeping missions and has sought to promote peace and stability in West Africa sub-region. But however, Nigeria's influence is also constrained by his domestic challenges and the complexities of regional politics. Social and political protest has also become a very huge and reoccurring feature of the Nigerian life. 1 minute soon, by June 12, we've also heard where there's going to be a protest going on, and citizens have taken to the streets to demand better governance, improved services, and accountability from their elected officials. The NSAS was a major one, the protest of 2020, which highlighted police brutality and systemic corruption, were a watershed moment in Nigeria's civil society movement. I don't also know what role the traditional rulers play in this sense, but yes, we're here to talk about it. Corruption has also played a very huge role, and we don't also know, we cannot depend on the media anymore, as the media now has some biases involved, where we can, so many times we say that, oh, do you know that the Arise TV belongs to this socio-political party? Do you know that Channels TV belongs to this social party? So one of the reasons why we're also having this conversation is that we're bringing a platform where this is not owned by any party. This is not controlled by any party. Anyone can have a say. Anyone can have a voice. And exactly why we are here. Even the youths can actually say something, which they have been the most affected in this sense. But I'm looking at how the future of Nigeria can help us to navigate our journey from now on. But I hope I still have Ladiko here with us. Do I still have Ladiko here?
Yes, you do. Can you hear me?
Okay, yes. So let me just go straight to asking what your thoughts are on the Tinubu's administration economic reforms, and how do you think they will impact Nigeria's economic growth?
Well, we've had 2 years of President Bola Tinubu in office. There are two basic ways to look at it. First, you look at the economic indices on May 29th or May 28th, 2023, and look at where we are at May 29th, 2025. At that time, I think the dollar to naira, naira to dollar was like 400 and something naira to the dollar. Today, it is 1,600 and something.
Yes.
You can see that the naira has fallen over 100%. You look at inflation. At the moment, I'm sorry, I don't want to give wrong figures. It's probably around, I know at the time it got to about, was it 30 something percent or 20 something, 30 something percent. You know, it's high. And then you look at other things as well. Then we look at the situation you mentioned with the Boko Haram, the insurgents, and what have you, people attacking people on the farms in Benue, Plateau States,
Yeah.
many other places as well. At the time you thought it was going down, now it seems to be on the increase, or a few weeks ago it was on the increase, maybe coming slightly down now. Whichever way, insecurity is not being dealt with in a way that the average man is more confident about how secure he is, especially those on the farms and where have you. So if you look at all those indices, then you begin to say that we are at midterm. And midterm is traditionally and conventionally all around the world the time when you can begin to say that I don't think this government is taking us in the right direction, or, oh yes, we need more patience, they're going in the right direction. So that is the situation. If you look at it that way, as I said, if you look at the economic indices and all these things, you would not score President Tinubu high. You would not. On the other hand, a lot of people who seem to support him for one reason or the other, or support the administration, will tell you that they're working, that things are going in the right direction, he's putting in some reforms, and that only time will tell, etc. So, but for the purposes of our conversation, because conversation around this should go on almost on a daily basis.
Yes.
But as we are now, anyone trying to score the administration at the center, that is President Tinubu's administration, will not score them too high. Honestly speaking. Now, you might say that maybe there's hope that things might turn around and what have you. But I always say to them, that do we see the things that will help things turn around? It's one thing to increase revenue. You are trying to increase revenue, but the value of the naira has crashed. What are you doing regarding the welfare of the people? What is the economic social environment like? Can you and I come together try to start a business. How difficult is it? What is the interest rate of the banks, the lending rate? All these things go together, they work together. And I seriously feel that the Central Bank of Nigeria, Cardozo, they have to do a lot of things. They're in charge of monetary policy. Mr. Wale Edun at the Ministry of Finance is in charge of fiscal policy. On the fiscal side, what have we seen that we can say that this administration or this National Assembly for that matter are cutting costs? We're telling the average man on the streets, tighten your belt. I'm taking away your, what's it called again? Your subsidy, your fuel subsidy. I'm taking it away, but it is for your own good. Tighten your belt in the long run. What has government done? Any arm of government to tighten its belt? They're spending more, spending on four-wheel drive, or all sorts of things. Look at the way the National Assembly is spending money. Look at what they are allocating to each other for constituency allowances. So the average man on the streets has no hope renewed, no renewed hope, has no faith, is losing hope every day that these 2 years that remain will bring about the economic benefits that they're hoping for, or even begin to change. We're not saying anyone is a magician. We need it to begin to turn around the economy. There is no hope. It's not on the horizon for the average man. So these are the things that you look at when you say you want to score this government. Politically speaking, we've spoken about economy and insecurity. Politically speaking, look at what happened in Rivers. Although we're in a country where people will not say, people will not talk. But as a legal practitioner, I know that it is not constitutional. It was not. It wasn't. But the people at the National Assembly, I don't know what they're doing, they keep quiet. They become complicit in whatever is happening. And now you have people crossing almost on a daily basis. Yes.
I mentioned that earlier.
Sorry?
I said I mentioned that before, that people are fond of cross-carpeting, and for some reasons you see how ideology can be misplaced in that space, and you don't know where or not you're supposed to be when choosing a party.
Yes, may I say something? I'm not defending politicians. A lot of politicians in Nigeria do not play politics of ideology. They don't believe in it. They just do whatever suits them to get into government. Now, the million-dollar question is that, do the Nigerian voters, the average Nigerian, do they have any sort of ideology, anything they believe in?
That's a huge question.
You understand?
Yeah.
If you look at it critically, it becomes a two-way thing. If the average man voting only believes in 5,000 naira, Ankara, groundnut oil, this and that, a bag of rice, then the man who wants to get in will not bother talking about the economy or about free education or whatever.
Very
He'll
true.
have to talk about stomach infrastructure.
Very true.
How to meet the needs of the majority of voters. So it's a two-way thing. I always say that when it comes to that aspect of it, they don't have ideology. Why would they? if you stand up, if I go anywhere, in most places now, if I go there, I start talking about the economy, I start talking about education, I start talking about all sorts of things to do with our manifesto. You'll see that they'll start yawning. A lot of them will start yawning and say to themselves, the Yorubas will say, Kilele nso, Oyibolo nso, that you are just speaking English. How much are you dropping? What are you bringing? And we keep telling them, and that's the work of the press. You are trying. And when you collect 5,000, 10,000, you have no say in the next 4 years. So it's a two-way thing. Some of the politicians are guilty of that. They just move around. No, they don't care which party got them elected. They jump to the next one, etc., because they just want to get into government. And unfortunately, it is mirrored by the fact that the average man asks no questions.
Absolutely.
Even the people they've put there to act as a check, those the people we put in the National Assembly, do they ask questions? Even the president of the Senate will tell you, yes, we are rubber stamp. We like it. That's how bad it is.
You know, Johnson, this really reminds me of running in 2019. I ran for the State House of Assembly for the first time in 2019, and fortunately came third in the election. And it was a mix of a lot of feelings for me, especially during campaign when you move around asking people to vote for you, talking about your manifesto, what you want to do, and they're always looking at the peanuts regardless of, they're not talking about unemployment, they're not talking about inflation, they're not talking about poverty, it's stomach infrastructure, like you rightly mentioned. And it got me thinking that, so what would I offer if I see that the only thing that you want from me is stomach infrastructure? And that relates to what you have said about a lot of politicians when you know that when you enter a space and you want to talk about you know, unemployment, you want to talk about road, you want to talk about infrastructure, you want to talk about free education, nobody wants to listen. I remember somebody telling me that buy one bag of rice, don't wait, I don't have time for that, I don't have time for this. And I was very sad in that sense that, so is this the Nigeria that we're supposed to work for? So it's a two-way thing, like you have mentioned, where on one part, the Nigerians don't know what they want, or some Nigerians don't know what they want. On the other part, there are politicians who do not care about what they want either way. So it's almost like a two-gay-four thing, if I were to say it in Yoruba. But let's address, I think we've had Chud join now. So I would like us to actually address Nigerians' high inflation. I also want us to address the unemployment and poverty rate that has skyrocketed, and what role do you think that the government can play in, you know, stimulating this economic development? On the pages of the newspaper this morning, we had the presidency saying that critics should bring alternative policies if they think that his is not working. And I said it this morning that it's almost saying that if he is the runner. So, but this is asking now that what role do you think, how do you think Nigeria can address, you know, its high inflation and unemployment and poverty rates, and what role do you think the government can play in stimulating the economic development? I would love to start with Chude, since he's just joining us. Welcome, Chude, or Chude, if I would say that.
Thank you very much. Let's just say, I mean, quoting the government, you know, the way you have, that critics should provide solutions. Critics do not have obligations to provide solutions to the myriads of socioeconomic problems that we have. Their critics, their own is just to, you know, point out lapses of government. Yes, the, you know, constructive criticism entails that when you criticize, you also try to provide a way forward.
Yes.
For the government.
Absolutely.
So that is that. But it's not as if there's an obligation. So if they choose to just end with criticism, it's okay. If they choose to also offer some solutions, that is even much better. But obviously, it is the government that has an obligation to the people, because the government was voted into power on the basis of the promises that it made to people, to Nigerians, to citizens, that they had the wherewithal, the ability to solve Nigeria's many problems, economic, social, political, issues of security also. These are some of the things. And so you talk about inflation. Obviously, what brought about the unprecedented inflation that we have in the country today is the sudden announcement, all of it, like I said, sudden announcement that subsidy is gone. And of course, you know that petrol, petroleum products affect the lives of Nigerians in so many ways, in very radical ways. And so anything, because every other thing that we do in this country is dependent on the cost of the black gold. And so once that happened, cost of transportation went up, cost of fuel, everything went up. And you have to bring goods from the hinterlands, from distant places to major towns to sell. The prices of petrol is going to determine the cost of transportation, and that would ultimately determine in the price that the consumers, Nigerians, are going to buy these products. So that affected it seriously, and then of course the exchange rate also at the other level also touches a lot of things, because Nigeria is a consumer, it's a consumer country, where you could say that a very high percentage, perhaps 80% of products in this country are produced externally and are brought into the country. And so when you have an exchange rate that is running riot, that keeps on fluctuating on the negative side, it is also going to affect the prices of some of these things. So these are the reasons for the high inflation in the country. And then of course, you look at other economic indices, the issue of unemployment, it went to 33% at a time. I think it hovers around that even up to now. That is exceedingly too high. With so many youths patrolling the streets of this country without anything meaningful to do.
Absolutely.
But the reality is that if you want to absorb these youths, where are you going to absorb them? You are going to absorb them in industries, not the massive, the big industries, the conglomerates. It is the small and medium scale industries that have the capacity to, absorb the majority of unemployed, because the bigger corporate organizations have limited capacity. Of course, individually they can absorb so much. Individually, the small and medium scale enterprises can absorb, very little in terms of numbers. Maybe you're talking about maybe from 5, 20, 30, 40, 50, people. But the reality is that they are in their hundreds of thousands, while the big corporate organizations are in their thousands. So the ability of a small and medium scale industry to absorb, the youth is much, much higher. But the reality is that the economic base of this country is also dependent on electricity. And so when you do not have electricity, you cannot generate any serious economic activity. So if you now ask me, what does the government need to do? The government needs to do something about the electric infrastructure in the country, energy infrastructure in the country, because not much can be done without that. And as that is being done, you are tackling the issues of inflation. How are you going to tackle inflation? I know the CBN has been trying to do a lot in that direction, but nothing concrete exactly has been done to address the issues. So much more obviously needs to be done. They need to increase the industrial base in Nigeria. When it comes to the servicing sector, I think we are doing fairly well there, but I think it is the real sector. That is where we need to do a lot. But that much cannot be done without energy. Energy is very key to turning that sector around.
Thank you very much, Chud. We'll go on a quick break and then we'll return With more conversations about the political developments of Nigeria and what the way forward could be for us, please stay with us.
Tell us you're a Nigerian without saying a word. Energy security is one of the most pressing issues for many developing countries like Nigeria. And if there's going to be any meaningful progress, addressing our energy issues is non-negotiable.
I know see light from my house. Make them do something.
Band A is expensive. I literally have to turn off all my appliances just to reduce costs.
We need light.
Introducing the Energy Outlook, your go-to show for everything energy. Every week, we'll bring you the latest insights, innovation, and in-depth analysis of Nigeria energy sector. Energy.
Welcome back to the show. We still have the amazing Johnson here and Trude, who has recently joined us and given a very robust solution, or in that sense, recommendation to the government on how to address the issues of high inflation and unemployment. But let's talk about the security challenges in Nigeria. We've heard kidnapping, we've heard Boko Haram taking over certain places. We've heard the Benue killings, the plateau issues. But it seems that there's been no solution in that sense. We have heard about security agencies going there to, get a hold of those communities. But still, we wake up almost every morning hearing about new killings, new kidnapping here and there, and other militant groups making headways in our state. So what strategies do you think that the government can employ in the case where it seems like what they're already doing is not as effective enough to combat these issues? What strategies do you think that the government can employ, to effectively combat Boko Haram, the ISWAP, and other militant groups? Let me start with Johnson.
They have, the president has more intelligence before him than we do. That is the intelligence reports from all the agencies. So we will not pretend to have solutions to problems that we actually do not know what the real problems are.
Yeah,
I understand. Agree. But the thing there is that one thing is clear. This warfare, in quotes, is not the conventional, traditional warfare. I don't know how, since Buhari's time, or even since Jonathan's time, how much better information gathering is. You see, when you have people moving around, you need a lot of dynamic information gathering techniques. You need to improve on that. Two, do our people, the people in the villages, on the farms and everything, do they have confidence in the Nigerian army, military, armed forces, or police for that matter? Do they have enough confidence to be able to give information, to say, someone has moved into the area, we suspect them, they come, they go, this and that? Because a lot of cases have happened where those people have said that if they give information, the next week or something, there's like a reprisal in their whole village and everything. So people are keeping quiet. You understand? So then we now go to the issue of technology. Our borders are porous. Our borders are porous all around. You find that someone can come from Mali, come all the way down Nigeria, either through Niger or Cameroon, and just be grazing. They come in and they do whatever they can do, they go out. There's nothing to cover to stop them. Now, unfortunately, if you say go and buy drones, even if you have special drones that's, you can buy some drones, God knows how much, very cheap, $300 for, even if you have special $1,000 or whatever. By the time the drones come into Nigeria, you hear $10 million, whatever, so they can, you understand? So that problem is still there and is not helping matters in any way. And also, you have the issue of the bandits. They are different from the Boko Haram or what have you. You have the issue of the bandits, kidnappers, that has turned into a big business. If your economy is not working, you'll find people looking for an alternative business. I'm not using it as an excuse. I'm just saying it's one of the things that would happen. Unfortunately, when these things are on, banditry, Boko Haram or what have you, the economy too will not move. It's a vicious cycle because you find it difficult for people to want to come and put money. If I tell a chicken now, let's go and start some business in Borno or in Zamfara, you say, no, not there. Because he knows that maybe because of the gold, bandits are there. They've cordoned off some areas. So it's a vicious cycle. And as I say, they just need the political will. The political will, and to ensure that the military or armed forces and National Security Agency, DSS, that they think outside the box, operate outside the box, and try to be ahead of the various problems that we're facing.
Thank you very much, Johnson. I completely agree with your statement. I've always repeated over and over again how porous our borders are. And you already mentioned how easy it is to enter in and out of Nigeria. And even the United States have mentioned that, Nigeria and some West African countries are now the target of terrorists. And this is stating that we are now the haunted in that sense, where it's no longer safe for anyone. And even certain states that seem to be like the safe zones for a lot of people or businesses will no longer be safe by the time these people get into spaces that they are not supposed to get to. But let's also look at how we can address, maybe before even I go into youth participation in politics, there's this thing with the whole paying ransom to kidnappers and just to get your person out of that state. And we still have cases where these people are murdered and the money goes, the person goes, and they're not able to get a hold of this person. And we've had a lot of people come and talk about how to manage negotiation. We've heard where people are talking about how to even get to your person without paying any money, how security operatives can also, free your person before these people decide to either murder them or something. But how do we think that this paying of ransom thing should be addressed? The government have said that people should stop paying ransom to these kidnappers. It's someone looks like a thriving business now in that sense. So how do you think that we can address this kidnapping issue as regards to ransom paying?
Is that me? Is that for me or for Johnson?
Yes, I would like Johnson to answer, then you can answer after.
I'm so sorry about that. It's a good thing. Well, not a good thing. In Western nations, especially through President Reagan, Margaret Thatcher, to George Bush Sr., in those days, the talk was always, we do not negotiate with terrorists, because if you negotiate with them, they will come back, you give them money, they'll come back and do the same thing all over again. The money will be used to buy more weapons. But invariably, after a while, it got out that, yes, they were doing deals behind the scene with some of the terrorists. They did deals with some people from Iran at that time, things like that. So yes, the Nigerian government is stating what should be the obvious, that do not give money, do not pay ransom, because it will only encourage them. You tell that